corruption, GOPAC, held in Doha, Qatar, and any other urgent business that may be received as we prepare to head into the long recess on Thursday next week. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 42A, 5 and 6, I wish to convey the following that the following cabinet secretaries are scheduled to appear on the afternoon of Wednesday, 3rd May 2023, before the House to respond to questions as follows. One is the Cabinet Secretary for Education to appear to respond to the following questions. Question number 102/2023 by the Honorable Oku Kaunya MP regarding funds channeled towards construction of junior secondary schools countrywide, and whether they shall ultimately be domiciled in primary or secondary schools. Question number 103/2023 by Honorable Abdul Haro MP regarding the introduction of school feeding program coupled with supply of clean water to schools in Mandera South constituency. Question number 103A/2023 by Honorable Oku Kaunya MP regarding plans being undertaken by the ministry to ensure smooth transition of learners from grade 7 to junior secondary. And question number 112/2023 by the Honorable John Waithaka MP regarding the plight of government-sponsored students undertaking their studies in Cuba. B, the Cabinet Secretary, or 2, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum shall also appear to respond to the following questions. Question number 94/2023 by the Honorable Amina Mnyazi MP regarding measures being taken to cushion water utility companies from high electricity prices in drought-stricken counties like Kilifi County. Question number 95/2023 by the Honorable Abdul Haro MP regarding stalled electricity connectivity to homes and public institutions in Mandera South constituency. Question number 96 by the Honorable Captain Ruwaida Obo MP regarding plans by the ministry to compensate fishermen in Faza Ward who incur losses due to incessant power outages. Question number 97/2023 by the Honorable Jessica Mbalu, CBS MP regarding plans to replace dysfunctional and obsolete solar PV systems that were installed to provide uninterrupted power supply to various public institutions across the country. Question number 98/2023 by the Honorable Joseph Lekuton MP regarding connectivity of sufficient and uninterrupted power supply to Loyangalani, Kargi, Mount Kulal, and South Hor towns. And lastly, question number 135/2023 by the Honorable Robert Mbui, CBS MP, regarding causes and planned long-term solutions to address persistent power outages in the country. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will reconvene on Tuesday, 2nd May 2023, to schedule business for the rest of the week. Honorable Speaker, I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. And Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, to commend the many members, and notably, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Abdul Haro, the member for Mandera South, has been very keen in putting questions forth on behalf of his constituents, and I would urge members to take advantage of these sessions to put questions to cabinet secretaries, especially those that relate to matters touching on your constituents, because your constituents are watching you, and they are glad, Honorable Speaker, as we were noting somewhere today, the Cabinet Secretary for the Interior, the Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki, was inspecting mines yesterday in Busia County, following a supplementary question that was raised on the floor of the House, and therefore it becomes a very good way for members to get issues that are of concern to their people, get immediate attention from government and through the cabinet secretaries. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order number 8, motion, ratification of 3 Hague Conventions relating to matters of children, resumption of debate.
Clerk, who was on the floor? This motion has 53 minutes to go. Honorable Joshua Mwalio, is he present? Joshua Mwalio? He's not here yet. He's here? Where is he? Honorable Mwalio, you have 3 minutes to go.
3 minutes only.
That is what was left of your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I was starting the debate, then I was interrupted. What I wanted to say in this ratification is that there should be an enforcement on the way the compensations are done by the absent fathers who father children and then they leave the country and go away. So the law should be enforced so that they can be followed to their country of origin, because they have left us with a lot of problems trying to educate their children whom they have fathered and they have left in our constituency and in our areas. This law, once it is ratified, it will be able to cure that, and also the courts should be in a way that the case does not drag itself forever, but it should be having some deadlines, timelines, so that the children don't suffer, they don't even leave school because there is no school fees, and their fathers are working, they are enjoying somewhere else, and they are the ones who fathered the children. So what I would like you to say is that although some things needs to be rectified in this ratification of the Hague laws, but what I picked is that the compensation is very important, so that even when the absent fathers are not available, they can be forced by the law even to educate the children wherever they are, and also to be able to take care of them on a daily-to-daily needs, because it is very hard for our grandmothers, our grandchildren, to be able to take care of these children, and they have no income, and they have been left there wondering where the fathers and also the mothers have gone. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support that ratification so that we can be able to ease the problem of the grandchildren, of the grandfathers, the grandmothers who are left with so many children to take care of. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Munyoro, what is it? I see you flicking the intervention.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members.
I was raising on a statement you gave, Honorable Speaker, that you are not aware of where Honorable Junet Mohammed is. And my understanding is that whenever an honorable member is traveling out of the country, he should be informing the Honorable Speaker that he's not in the country. I just wanted your clarification, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. For avoidance of any doubt to any member, Article 103 of the Constitution, as you all know, requires that you leave jurisdiction only with the permission of Mr. Speaker. And in the absence of that, you can lose your seat. And remember also Standing Order 257A. It says any member, and lawyers like my distinguished colleague Kajwang can buttress this if they wish. Any member who wants to leave jurisdiction, you simply write to Mr. Speaker. to notify him that you are leaving, he will give you permission or may decline to give you permission. It also says the clerk keeps that record, and with the permission of Mr. Speaker, it may be released to any other party to use against you. So it is a matter that I want to encourage members that if you want to leave the jurisdiction of the country, Mr. Speaker will never deny you permission unless it's extremely difficult for him to do so. So just write to the office of Mr. Speaker, and many of you do. Others don't. And those who don't, Mr. Speaker will never instigate anything against you. But if your opponents and other people instigate and they demand evidence from Parliament, if we don't know, we have no reason to withhold that evidence. We get the point, Mr. Munyoro? Yes, Wanjala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of us happens to live right at the border. And sometimes within 1 hour, we have crossed for a drink, we come back, we have crossed for a drink, we have gone there, you stay there one day. Suppose I just make a call or I send you a message.
Honorable Wanjala, as a legislator, you are presumed to know that we have the East African Community with a protocol on free movement of people, goods, and services within the East African Community. Especially, it's free movement of goods, people, and services across the East African Community. So your crossing to Uganda and back is not within the expected demands. Yes, Honorable Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, the issue that we have diverted a little is really administrative, and yours faithfully,
yes,
you have always directed us accordingly,
yes,
and you are quite aware of these issues. When the member,
Honorable Munyoro of Kigumo,
when the member rose on a point of order to raise this matter, these are some of the interventions that, Mr. Speaker, divert us away from business, because you know that it does not concern this member really, where the member that was supposed not to be in the chamber really is, nor does he help him in any way to know where the chief whip of this side.
Honorable Kajwang, when we started the House, there was no quorum. And I asked where the whips were. And I asked that I have not seen your whip for quite some time. So I was concerned as to whether he was well or unwell. That is how it came up. Now you understand.
Understand. In fact, Mr. Speaker, you must be concerned about your House leadership every time. But Mr. Speaker, you know that many of us, especially those of us who have been here for a few more years, including the PSC member that is standing next to you, we do that all the time. Even when we are unwell, when we are sick, when we go to hospital, I have had to write to Mr. Speaker that I have a hospital sick leave to be out of the chamber.
In fact, you are one of the best examples that adhere to that standing order.
Thank you very much.
Always write to Mr. Speaker even when you are going to see a doctor, although that is not a requirement. Julius Ruto Keses.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I think
give to Julius Ruto. It is not on the point of order. It is contributing to the motion.
yes.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I contribute to the motion, but it is also good that, Mr. Speaker, you are raising a point of concern on the missing of an honorable member. And it is also our responsibility in this House to know where our colleagues are, appreciating the fact that even within our neighborhood, we are experiencing some challenges like Sudan, and even an honorable member's whereabouts is not known. It is your responsibility and our responsibility, being a vetted member, being a sworn-in member, to carry responsibilities in this honorable institution, and therefore we should know its whereabouts as a concern and the way Kenyans would be expecting. To this particular motion, Mr. Speaker, as we seek to ratify the conventions that are being undertaken internationally, including one that considers the issues of parenting of our children and the challenges we keep experiencing here and there, knowing that human beings always move across geographical locations and to some extent social interactions that, that end up increasing or causing issues like parenting, have to be looked at beyond our boundaries. But then, Mr. Speaker, my point of concern in this particular motion is a bit of caution, in that some of the ratifications, including this, that requires legal implication. I would wish that such motions or such ratifications and treaties that are being signed should be put in place before this House, clause by clause, so that we're able to look at it, so that we don't end up ceding our role that our jurisdiction and judicial provisions we have by virtue of the Constitution of Kenya shall not be ceded out to the international judicial process, which end up contravening our African culture, which end up contravening our moral practices, which end up contravening our own legal framework. To my case is that such motion, such treaties can be looked at it clause by clause, so that we ensure the applicability within our Kenyan jurisdiction and only limit this particular discussion to international nature of cases that we experience. So that if there are matters that goes across the border of region Kenya.
Order, honorable members, order. The conversations are too loud. We can barely hear the member for cases who is making very valuable contributions to this motion. You are requested to converse in low tones, if you must.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable.
Thank you for protecting me. Mr. Speaker, my point of concern when I looked at the concern on the treaty that need to be ratified through this motion by this honorable House, a big question came to my mind. What are the contents of these particular treaties that were signed and conventions that were discussed internationally, and that we want to adopt them to our own legal framework that we have in the country, Kenya? What would be the implication? Would it challenge our existing judicial process we have? Are the contents in this particular law applicable to the laws of the land in Kenya? Does it respect our moral practices? Does it adopt and appreciate our cultural processes that we have? Because we know as Kenya country, what puts us together are the values and our cultural practices that have been there before and up to now. So it is good and ideal for this particular honorable House henceforth to scrutinize, maybe through the committee of the House, to look at each and every particular clause by clause, interpret it, and look at the legal implication into it, so that we don't end up approving a process that will be selling out our particular role and powers for this particular country. Hence, on the other side, I also want to appreciate that it is high time we look at the global framework in the aspect of looking at issues that touches our family. We all know that we appreciate our family issues. We have been blessed with parenting responsibility. This is a blessing from God that was given to us. And most of the time, we have found out that we get to a situation where we have our own children that suffer a lot because they lack the care of their both parents. At times, one of the parents end up by bad incident or by unfortunate incident, we lose one of the parents and we leave our child in the mercies of the charitable organization or to the laws and the fairness of this particular society, and end up bringing out children who are devastated, who are depressed, and of course, in the long run, we bring out the current challenges we experience in our society, the social challenges, including criminals that we bring in from our children we raise because of lack of paternity or care that our children deserve. So as much as we want to look at across the border, my concern in this particular motion, Mr. Speaker, if it is possible, and it is possible in this House, let us first of all scrutinize the content of these particular treaties. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Gertrude Mbeyu. Are you on the screen on this motion? And Order, Honorable Wanjala. Order, Honorable Wanjala. My good friend, Honorable Wanjala, you seem to cause trouble everywhere you go. Honorable members, the screen is full. I don't know if you have keyed in to speak to this motion or you have keyed in generally. Okay, I'll give the Honorable Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion for the ratification and acceptance of this Hague Convention relating to matters of children. Mr. Speaker, these are actually very important conventions. To begin with, they are in line with the UN Convention for the Rights of the Child, which this country has actually ratified and has signed. And by our constitution, any law that we ratify or treaty becomes part of our law. So, Speaker, it's important because children do move a lot, particularly with their parents. And sometimes in circumstances what are actually differences within the family, so that a child moving may actually be considered to have been abducted. Or sometimes children move with their parents and one parent then abandons the children. And sometimes in terms of civil disruptions, children sometimes move alone. And therefore it becomes very important that we have internationally agreed ways of handling these children. Mr. Speaker, I support this because these conventions are actually in 3 parts. And the first part actually deals with the movement of children and how children will be handled when they have moved from one place to the other, or a parent has moved with a child, or a parent has moved and left a child behind. And when a child has been moved from their area of usual habituation, then is need to know how these children can be returned to their homes. And Mr. Speaker, there are so many laws and in different jurisdictions that it becomes very difficult to actually move the children, go through all the procedures. And therefore, the first part that deals with abduction actually gives provision so that across the various jurisdictions, children can be removed, can be returned to their habitual residences in an orderly manner, so that people who are involved, whether they are parents, whether they are government officers, don't have to go through complex different jurisdictions. And that part also deals with, Mr. Speaker, criminalization of moving and detaining children which may be not in areas where they normally reside, or not with the concurrence of one or both parents. Mr. Speaker, the other side deals with then what happens with the various laws. What methods do we use? And sometimes these are in private institutions, like children's home. Some children may have been fostered. Some children may actually have even been, in some cases, adopted. So you therefore need to know how shall we deal with this. And as I said earlier, there are different laws in different countries, and therefore you need one agreed way so that people who deal with these matters can actually handle the children without any problem. It is worse, Mr. Speaker, if you have parental disputes where one parent wants to move with a child and the other parent doesn't want. Eventually it turns into abduction. Sometimes children are unaccompanied and they are minors. How do you deal with them? And so that part gives you the provision of how you deal with these cross-border issues. Mr. Speaker, the other part that I find extremely useful is how do you enforce family parental responsibility and issues of maintenance. When a child has been moved or a parent has moved, what is the responsibility of that parent in terms of maintenance of the child. So, Mr. Speaker, this has covered everything, and that we really need to look at children. And, Mr. Speaker, once this is signed, as a country, we'll be bound by it. It will be our obligation, and all government officers, all individuals that are dealing with children will have to deal in line with this, particularly the judiciary and the Office of the Attorney General, who will have responsibility over this, and also offices like the children's offices, children's officers, and so on. So this, I think, if we get to, will ease the issue of handling children across different jurisdictions. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support the ratification of these conventions. Thank you.
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, I hope that you heard what Dr. Nyikal said, and he was quoting without reference to Article 2 of the Constitution, that any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya, which you are doing, shall form part of your law under this Constitution. So it's important that you read what you are ratifying, understand it, before you ratify.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to oppose this ratification. I think many people who are contributing to this have not read it and understood it. This ratification, when you read it, it means that a certain body can sue you for even child maintenance in the US, and it is enforced here. It means that you'll take responsibility for something which has been done even where you are not represented, because you've ratified it. You remember this, sometimes back we ratified the Hague Treaty on Crimes and Humanity. Later on, by Kenya being a signatory, people had been to be taken from here to go and be tried in Hague for crimes which they could not even be able to be proved. So for me, I think the House should not pass this ratification. We should oppose it. We should be able to have an opportunity. People had been to be taken from here to go and be tried in Hague for crimes which they could not even be able to be proved. So for me, I think the House should not pass this ratification. We should oppose it. We should be able to have an opportunity whereby we are passing it for the rest of the country, which are ignorant on what we are ratifying. We are holding the rest of the 50 million Kenyans to be enjoined into these 3 treaties for children's without their participation, without public participation from the Kenyan society. To me, I think we should be able to have an opportune time, because there are some of those ratifications that we are doing that are not in conformity with our own laws. So we cannot ratify what is not in conformity with our law. I think by supporting it, we'll be letting down the Kenyans. And I want this House to rise to the occasion that please let's not ratify something that we don't understand.